One of the biggest reasons people struggle to build real wealth isn't because they picked terrible investments, it's because they did the right things in the wrong order. I see this all the time. Someone is aggressively paying off low interest debt while ignoring their employer match on a 401k. Or someone's buying crypto or private investment deals before they've even built basic reserves. And the result is predictable: slower growth, unnecessary risk, and a lot of frustration. The truth is, wealth building isn't just about what you invest in, it's about sequencing. It's about knowing what to prioritize first, what to layer in next, and what strategies only make sense later in the journey. I'm Matt Sorensen, attorney and CEO of Directed IRA, and in this video, I'm going to walk you through the ideal order of investing, from beginner all the way to advanced wealth builder. This is the same framework I've used for years and that my clients have used for years. And if you follow it, you'll avoid a lot of the common mistakes that quietly hold people back. Before we get into all the steps, I want to convince you on one key point, and that is order matters more than most people think. Most investors don't fail because they never take action. They fail because they deploy capital in the wrong sequence and they miss some big structural advantages available to them. The ideal order of investing is designed to help you do four things simultaneously. First, build financial stability early so unexpected events don't derail you from your plan. Second, capture guaranteed or high certainty returns when they're available. Third, maximizing the use of tax-advantaged account while your income is growing, which helps you compound returns faster. And fourth, only then are we going to move to more complex, exciting, higher risk wealth building strategies. And if you follow this in the proper order, each step makes the next step easier, more efficient, and less risky over time. If you ignore this order, you often end up working harder and get worse results. And that's exactly what we want to avoid. Step one here is not sexy, it's not exciting, but you've got to have it. You must have an emergency savings account. Before you invest aggressively anywhere, you need basic liquidity in place so that life's normal surprises don't force you to unwind good investments at the worst possible time. A practical starting target is at least 1 month of living expenses set aside in a cash account or a highly liquid savings account. Now, the purpose of this actual account is not growth. It's stability and flexibility when unexpected expenses inevitably show up. Whether this is car repairs, a new AC unit, you have a job change, I don't care what it is, these things happen in life. Step two here is critically important and extremely valuable. If you have a 401k at work, I want you to contribute enough to get the full match from your employer. For example, if your employer offers a 4% match, dollar for dollar on what you put in, and you make $100,000 a year, let's say you put in $4,000, your employer will also match dollar for dollar up to 4%. They will put in $4,000. You now have $8,000 of wealth in a 401k, and it only cost you $4,000. You have a 100% return on investment in day one in the employer 401k. I want you to take advantage of that immediately. It is impossible to find an investment that will give you a guaranteed 100% match on day one, but your employer 401k does it. Now, after you've contributed and got the entire match, you can pause additional contributions to the 401k. We're going to move to some other high priority steps. We may come back to the 401k later, depending on your situation, but the key here at step two is contribute enough to get the match and get out. Now, step three, I want you to eliminate all of your high interest debt. If you've got double-digit interest rates, especially credit cards or similar unsecured balances, these can be extremely difficult to outinvest consistently over time. We want to focus first on credit card balances, high-rate personal loan balances, and any non-asset-backed debts that have elevated interest rates. Removing this drag of income that we could otherwise invest helps improve our cash flow and our long-term efficiency on the dollars we're going to invest going forward. Next is step four, and I want you to fund your Roth IRA strategically. Once your high interest debt's under control, we can begin intentionally building tax-free retirement dollars through a Roth IRA. The Roth IRA is powerful because our contributions are made with after-tax dollars. What that means is we don't get a deduction when we put money in the Roth. But what we do get is our investment returns are growing without any tax on the investments or income coming in the account. That means every dollar gets to be reinvested and compounds over time. And when we start taking withdrawals from our Roth account later on in retirement, age 59 and a half or later, that money is coming out entirely tax-free. Now, this step appears before we're fully maxing out the 401k because Roth IRAs typically give us more investment flexibility and long-term tax diversification. In my 401k at my job, I'm going to be limited into certain mutual funds or target date funds on where I can invest those dollars. But when I put money in the Roth IRA bucket, I have much more options, whether this is a brokerage Roth IRA or even a self-directed Roth IRA where you're buying real estate or private companies or crypto. The bottom line is Roth IRAs give you more investment options and more control on how you want to invest your dollars. Step 5 is maximizing your health savings account. The HSA is the most tax-efficient account available, and it is frequently underutilized by investors who don't fully understand its long-term potential. Now, this account has rare triple tax benefits. What you get with an HSA is your contributions are tax deductible, no high income phase outs. The growth in the account as you're investing that HSA is tax-free. I get to compound every penny of growth and build it over time. And when I pull the money out at any age, at any time for qualified medical, the money is coming out entirely tax-free. There's a critical mistake to avoid, and that is treating the HSA like a simple spending account instead of a long-term investment vehicle. When you have the income and cash flow, investing your HSA funds and allowing them to compound over time rather than pulling out for your current medical becomes a much more powerful wealth building strategy because those investment dollars can stay invested, grow over time, and I can pull them out later for the medical I had in prior years. This is a little more of an advanced strategy and take on the HSA, but however you're using it, it is important. We want to do it here in step 5. Step 6, now remember we talked about your 401k and that we might come back to it. Here's where we're going to come back to maxing out your 401k. We already put enough money into the 401k to get our match and we got out. And now we're looking at how do I get more tax advantage funds in? And what we're looking to do here is essentially increase our contributions to the annual maximum amount. You can have a total employee contribution of your dollars of $24,500. So let's say you're someone that makes $200,000 a year and you decide to put in 4% of what you make because your 401k plan matches dollar for dollar up to 4% of your salary. So you put in 4%, $8,000, the company matched dollar for dollar, they put in $8,000, you have $16,000. What you have is $8,000 of employer contributions and you have $8,000 of employee contributions. You're able to put in $24,500 in employee contributions. You've only put in 8. What that means is you've got $16,500 of additional contributions you can be putting in the 401k, whether you're doing traditional or Roth dollars. And this layered approach is more efficient and strategic than simply maxing out the 401k in step 2. What we're doing here is we're maxing out to get the match because it's 100% return on investment. Then we're using other tax advantage accounts that have better options and we're getting rid of high interest debt. Only then are we coming back in step 6 here to max out the 401k on our additional employee contributions available. Step 7 is a highly strategic one that I love, and it's the Mega Backdoor Roth. Now, this is for high income earners who have a 401k or employer plan, and it allows us to significantly expand the amount of capital that we can put into tax-free accounts. Now, with this strategy, what it involves is an after-tax contribution to your company's 401k, followed by a conversion of that account to Roth status. Now, this can be into a Roth 401k, or it can even be rolled out of the plan into a Roth IRA. Now, the result is more money in Roth balances over time, but the availability of this strategy depends heavily on your specific plan design and whether it allows for something called after-tax employee contributions. The nice thing about this strategy, though, is we can now go past the employer match, past the $24,500 employee contribution, and we can be putting up to a total of $72,000 every year into tax-advantaged 401k plans when we combo in step 7 here with the Mega Backdoor Roth strategy. Step 8 is consider a Roth IRA. If you have kids who have legitimate income, a kid's Roth IRA can be one of the most powerful long-term wealth building tools available for the next generation. The primary advantage is time here. Contributions made early in life have decades now to compound inside a tax-free vehicle. The requirements to keep in mind here is the child must have documented earned income, whether this is from their own work, a summer job, a part-time job while in high school, they're working in your business or on your rental properties, they just have to have earned income. And the contribution amounts, how much you're putting into their Roth IRA, is limited to that earned income amount. Now, this kids' Roth strategy is something I did for my own kids. They literally came to my office every Saturday and cleaned the office instead of paying a cleaning crew. And what did I do with that income? I expensed it in the business and I put it into a Roth IRA for them because they now had earned income. This created tax-free compounding and growth. It was about helping my kids learn how to grow and build their wealth, which is important to me and my wealth building as well. Now, speaking of kids, this is where we hit step 9 and we start layering in education savings accounts. Now, common tools here are going to include a Coverdell education savings account where you don't get a deduction, but that money grows and you pay no tax on the investment and earnings. Also, a 529 plan. Again, no federal tax deduction when you put your money in, but that money grows and comes out tax-free for education expenses. Now, I want to caution everyone here. One of the biggest planning mistakes I see is parents underfund their own retirement accounts and instead aggressively fund college savings accounts too early. But I want you to remember the priority and framework, and what do they say at the airlines? Put your own mask on first, then help your child and help them put on their mask. What does that mean? That means we're going to secure our own retirement and wealth first, then we're going to optimize education and putting on the mask for our kids second. Step 10 is building a taxable brokerage or investment account. Once we've already utilized every tax advantage bucket under the tax code, we now want to start looking at using taxable brokerage accounts and layering in this to our overall wealth building strategy. The key advantage here is accessibility and flexibility, since these funds are not generally subject to early withdrawal penalties, and these are not accounts you have to wait until you're 59 and a half to draw off of. The trade-off, of course, is we have tax drag. Investment income and gains on these taxable accounts are going to show up on your 1040, and they're going to reduce the value of compounding over time. But even with this drawback, this bucket plays an important role in midterm planning and giving you pre-retirement liquidity. Step 11 here is expanding into rental real estate. As they strengthen their financial base, many investors begin allocating capital into rental real estate as part of a more diversified long-term wealth building strategy. Real estate can provide ongoing cash flow, appreciation over time, and it gives you additional tax advantage and strategies that help you on your tax return. Now, a common and effective entry strategy is simply converting an old primary residence into a rental property when you upgrade your home. This allows you to accumulate assets gradually over time. Remember, what we're doing when we're building wealth is we're accumulating assets that can produce cash flow and appreciate over time here. The emphasis here is we want to think of long-term buy and hold real estate rather than short-term speculation. How do I acquire real estate that can cash flow and appreciate over time? This is how you build and grow wealth using rental real estate. Step 12 here is where we're gonna have some more fun, and this is where we're investing into alternative assets. But notice, we are only doing this after we have done the 11 other steps and have a good solid investment foundation. But this category includes stuff like private equity, private lending, private fund, venture capital, hedge funds, oil and gas, all these other asset classes that we can invest in using our tax advantage accounts, even IRAs, or our non-retirement plan dollars that may be taxable. Now, these investments can have a much greater return potential, but they also come with some other risks and require due diligence and more investment experience as you start analyzing them. And remember, even with your self-directed retirement account, what we do at my company, Directed IRA, all day long, you can use your IRA or 401k funds, tax advantage dollars, to invest in alternative assets as well. This is not something you just need to do outside of your tax advantage accounts with your non-retirement account dollars. Step 13, we want to revisit low interest debt and make smart decisions about how we're using debt. You might want to look at your mortgage, low interest student loans, or any interest you might have in single digits. Does it make sense for me to pay off that debt? Now, the Dave Ramseys of the world and many other people are going to say pay off all debt. I totally disagree. We want to keep low interest debt. Why pay it off when we could otherwise deploy that capital into an investment that is going to build us wealth at a greater rate? And in fact, you might be looking at your assets, whether this is real estate or a brokerage portfolio, and you might be thinking of putting debt on those assets at low rates to use that money to invest in assets that can create a greater return. But the point here is, if I'm taking on debt and creating a liability, I'm using it strategically to place an asset that is going to grow or produce more income, and that's where I win in the net worth calculation. Now, we've gone through the framework and we've hit the 13 steps. And the goal here is not to implement every step immediately. Trying to do so often creates unnecessary overwhelm and decision fatigue. Instead, the practical approach is to identify where you currently are in the sequence, execute the next logical step with consistency and focus, and revisit the framework periodically as your income and assets grow. Wealth building rewards steady, disciplined progression far more than it does constant strategy changes or chasing the latest trend. And if you follow a structured order like this, you dramatically increase the odds that your investing dollars are working as efficiently as possible. And remember, the goal isn't to do everything overnight. It's to simply take the next right step, then the next one after that, and allow time and compounding to do the heavy lifting. And if you want a clear step-by-step roadmap you can actually follow, I've put together my ideal order of investing guide. It walks you through exactly what to prioritize first, what to layer in next, and how you build wealth in the most efficient sequence. You can download it using the link in the description below, and it maps out the smartest move next based on where you are today. If you found this video helpful, make sure you like it, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss future strategies on building wealth and protecting your assets. I'm Matt Sorensen. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.